Well, I would say a lot of those warning signs for Liquid have been around for just a little while now. What's your take on this whole thing?
I agree with Potter, but I also feel like it's a combination of both, right? I think Chaos really did, I wouldn't say overperform, but they did come in prepared, although they lost the first map convincingly. But Liquid, you were the #1 team not a long time ago, right? You should be winning these with the eyes closed. And the way they were losing, it wasn't about, some crazy, very close rounds going the way of Chaos either. I saw a few rounds, I couldn't watch a full game. Unfortunately, it was very late for me. But it was like Chaos just winning the final 2 maps pretty convincingly, if you think about it. It wasn't like an overtime matchup or something of that nature. So it is a worrying sign indeed, especially the best of 3 as well. I know we've spoken about an entire online thing and whatnot, but if you look at most of the top teams, they've managed to adapt to it. Sure, Fnatic have been having a rough run of late, but they look good online for EPL. You look at Astralis, you look at all the big dogs in EU, even in CIS. They've been able to adapt to the online phase. Liquid, what's going on there?
Yeah, Liquid having just a flurry of problems of their own, and I don't think it's necessarily playing online that's hindering them, whereas some teams playing on LAN hinders them. It's a weird sort of tug-of-war battle that we find ourselves in, but I think it's time that we took a very deep dive into what that means in online versus LAN play.
I think that online does reduce the amount of pressure that you have, but I think even then, like most LAN tournaments that you go to, the, I guess, preliminary stage is in kind of like a studio setting, and then when you qualify for the playoffs, that's when you're in the actual like setup in front of the crowds. And I think like getting to that playoff, that's a big lead.
I believe it's harder to play online for everybody. I just don't think it's just for underdogs. I think the better teams, they struggle more online because they're more used to LAN, and newer teams struggle a little on LAN. But I think at most is a little different, not too much.
The difference with online and offline is the fact that even though you know you're playing an important tournament, it doesn't feel like it, So you're not 100% involved in a tournament atmosphere.
I really like it more at home, like playing right now, because I haven't had that much experience with dealing with a crowd yet. At home I feel a lot more comfortable, so I just play on my own game, don't have the nerves.
It is different, because normally you have this high five, you can see the fire in your teammate's eyes if he's like hyped, or you can see if he's down, so you have a chance to kind of get him up and get into the zone where he can perform the best.
What's up? Pound it. Pound it.
Yeah, man. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah,
oh, you mean over there?
How did you understand?
I wasn't looking at
It's adding a little bit of pressure on the top dogs because like they all of a sudden play up against these lower tier teams that maybe have played the majority of the career at home and playing online, playing qualifiers for different tournaments. And now all of a sudden they might be playing these tournaments online from home as well, where we are a lot more like set up for the matches that happens in different locations throughout the world and on live stages. It is a different environment and it's just something you have to accept, but I would say it's just a really bad excuse if you say like, oh, it's because it's online and people are playing better because of blah blah. I mean, like, there's no excuses. Like, it's the same game, it's just a little bit different, but if you can't set yourself up for like 100%, then you should probably consider doing something else.
And that's Dupree recommending a career change for all of you onliners out there. What's your take on that one, Christine and Bled?
I think I mean it's obviously blatantly clear that online versus LAN, there are large differences. Even for you and me and Blay here on the desk, it's different. Just us knowing when to talk. When we're in real life on the desk together, we have verbal cues, body cues, physical cues that allow you to know exactly when it's your time to shine. And it's the same for these players as well, right? So just these small differences that these players have to start getting used to in this online environment.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the same time, I also agree with Dupree, where it's like, look, you've had a time to adapt to the change, right? You might have struggled initially, but the hallmark of a great team are your fundamentals. Your comms should be strong enough. All the basics should be good enough. That doesn't matter if you're playing, backstage in a LAN tournament, on stage in front of a crowd, in your bedrooms. Doesn't really matter. Your fundamentals should be strong enough if you're a good enough team to be able to, win some of these games more convincingly than the way Liquid has so far. So I kind of agree with them. I mean, you might need to change of jobs. Not yet for Liquid. I still believe they are a very, very, very good team. But I think these are a little bit of worrying signs, considering, at least for the foreseeable future, we don't know, if we're going to be seeing LAN play coming up anytime soon. So what's going to happen maybe in the next couple of months? Are they really going to drop off that far? That is a worrying thing for any Liquid fan out there.
Which is the strangest part of this whole conundrum. Obviously, there's this little bit of a global situation. So at least for us, whether we're doing it online or on LAN, I'm glad that we're able to sort of bring this entertainment or bring something of an attempt at entertainment via us to you out there watching from home. Maybe you're stuck indoors, maybe times are rough, but I'm glad that we could be there for you every step and every turn of the way. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and turn the page and start to take a look at the tournament itself. The format is not as easy to grab on for some teams like Liquid, who will now be starting with a loss. Can we go ahead and explain how this works, Blair?
Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? 4 groups of 4 for the EU region. The same thing, similar thing for EU as for NA as well. You have 4 teams per group. It's going to be a round robin format. Every team plays each other, and it's a best of 3. You win, you come on top of your groups, you move on through straight to the upper bracket of the double elimination. You get seeded into the lower bracket. You come last in your group, you're out of here.
Adios.